Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we've got several topics to get into today, so we're going to get started right away with some more games coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service. We have 4 games added. We have Kirby's Dream Land 2, and this is a side-scrolling platform game, obviously a sequel to Kirby's Dream Land 1. And the game had mixed reviews, but Nintendo Power did list it as the 10th best game for the Game Boy/Game Boy Color. And then the other Game Boy game we had announced is Burger Time Deluxe, and this is just an enhanced sequel to the classic arcade game. And then for the Super Nintendo, we have Side Pocket, which is a pocket billiards simulation game. And this is the enhanced version of the NES one. And I believe I played this back in the days, or at least one of them. I think I had a friend that had it, so it's kind of fun just to play around and check it out. And then finally for the NES, one of my favorite vertical shooter games, Xevis. And this was a classic Namco vertical shooter back in the day, and there was lots of different versions for like the arcade, the Apple II, the Atari 7800. I mean, they had this thing on about everything. So here's the NES version to try out, and it's a pretty good game. So let me know what you think about this selection of games. There's nothing here that's just a blockbuster game, but some pretty decent ones with Kirby and Xevious to play. And while we're on the topic of some classic IPs, we have this headline here from VGC. Cult 90s cartoon Toxic Crusaders is getting a retro-style beat-em-up. Now, remember when this show came out, it says here that it came out in 1991, but I don't think I ever watched it. I was like a little aged out of these type of cartoons by that point. And this is coming to us from RetroWare, and they're aiming to have it released late 2023 on Steam, Switch, PS4, PS5, the Xbox One, and Xbox Series systems. And while Toxic Crusaders is not a huge IP, the game was probably greenlit just because of the success recently of so many other beat-em-ups like Shredder's Revenge, Streets of Rage 4, River City Girls, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Now, if you're not familiar with this cartoon, it was a spin-off of The Toxic Avenger, which was a comedy horror movie, which of course was not family-friendly, but Toxic Crusaders was. And the show only had 13 episodes. Now, in case you're wondering who RetroWare is and what their quality has been in the past, their previous games were Prison City, Iron Meat, and of course the Angry Video Game Nerd 1 and 2 Deluxe, which is really the only one of these games that I recognized, and I haven't really played any of them. But I've heard the Angry Video Game Nerd games were fairly decent, so here's hoping that this one turns out pretty good. I do like beat-em-up games, so I'm kind of rooting for this one to be something decent, especially something that can support more than just 2 players. And next, we've got a little bit of an update to the CMA and their approval or non-approval of the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal. Now, this isn't a massive update, they haven't made any decisions yet, but something I thought was interesting. The headline here from Windows Central says, the UK published 7 responses to the Microsoft Activision Xbox deal. Only one company opposes. And I wonder who that was. No, it's Sony. But the article has some bullet points here about what you need to know. It says the UK regulatory body known as the CMA has so far not been very positive towards Microsoft's $69 billion Activision merger. The deal would see Microsoft gain control of franchises like Warcraft, Call of Duty, and Candy Crush. And here's the update. It says in a new release, the CMA published 9 responses to the current process, including Activision and Microsoft. 7 of these responses were from third parties. Of the 7 responses, only PlayStation opposed the deal. And the article kind of highlighted that pretty much this deal is going to come down to 3 governing bodies' approval. and that is the CMA out of the UK, the European Union, and the FTC from the US. Now, the FTC did say that they were planning to sue to stop the deal, but the EU is poised to let the deal go through. On an interesting side note, the FTC did ask to see more information about these 10-year deals that Microsoft's been signing, just to see kind of how legitimate they were. And most of these responses that were published by the CMA were anonymous, but I thought they had some interesting perspective. One of them says the acquisition will not all of a sudden make Xbox the dominant platform. It's far more likely that it may help to create a level playing field between Xbox and PlayStation, which at this point in time is sorely needed. And then another anonymous note here kind of notes how big Tencent is and the unfair advantage they have in China when compared to Western markets competing in China. Chinese publishers in our industry benefit from an unfair advantage due to the fact the Chinese market is closed to Western companies through various regulations. Letting Microsoft and Activision consolidate their business in light of this fast-growing competition would not be against the interest of UK consumers. Now, I believe the CMA's deadline for releasing their findings is April 26th, but I believe they said they may get it done before then. So probably in about a month's time, we may finally see what the results of the CMA's findings will be. And then finally, we have the latest Famitsu sales coming out of Japan. And looking at the software sales, we have a couple new entries, with one of them on multiple systems. But starting at the top, we have Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, followed by Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and then Splatoon 3 at number 3, and Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is a new entry for the Switch version at number 4. And then we have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 5. And then we see Ib coming in at number 6. And I think this is a new entry for this particular Switch version. I think the game's been out for a little bit. And interestingly enough, this game was created with RPG Maker. So that's interesting that it actually moved all the way up to number 6. And then we have at number 7 the PS4 version of Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. Then we have Hogwarts Legacy for the PS5, Wulong Fallen Dynasty at number 9 for the PS5, and then Octopath Traveler 2 hanging on pretty strong on the Switch version here at number 10, so it's good to see that game continue to sell decently. I'm in the middle of playing this right now over on my streaming channel, Throwing Controllers. If you've not checked that out, just go to youtube.com/@throwingcontrollers, all one word, and you can check out some footage. But now let's switch over to the hardware sales. At number 1, we have the PlayStation 5 again, followed by the Switch OLED, and then the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition, and then the original Switch at 4, the Switch Lite at 5, and hey, the Xbox Series X actually outsold the PlayStation 4 this time. And then finally, in 8th place, the Xbox Series S. I'm kind of waiting for the day where we see the new 2D SLL outsell the Xbox Series S. I don't know, maybe it'll happen. And I've updated the graph here. You can see the PlayStation 5 still declining a bit, and the Switch also, but they're really close neck and neck here, but the PlayStation 5 still overall outselling all the other consoles, and the Xbox Series system's kind of holding steady from last week. And I think generally this is a lower selling time of the year when it comes to consoles. We see a whole bunch get purchased during the Christmas season in December, and then things kind of taper down for a little bit. So I'm still waiting to see if we get a Tears of the Kingdom Switch announced, as we've seen many leaks about it, and if that would actually help the Switch kind of bump up some of its sales. And that's all we have for this week. Is there anything we covered that really caught your attention? And if you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you can see more of these videos into your feed. I want to thank you for watching, and be good.